that in just a little bit. We're now joined by Roger Clemens, who tomorrow, 11:30, a luncheon and also speaking engagement, the Astros World Series trophy.
Yeah. Can I say something? I did say, hey, Rocket, when he answered the phone, because I've, since I've been a kid, he did respond well. Do you prefer to be called Rocket? I've heard you introduce yourself as that before. I hope I didn't overstep, Roger.
Yeah, you guys are dead on. I think I answered to my nickname more than I do my regular name ever since when I was playing, and now that I'm retired, sure.
Well, there's this special luncheon. You're going to be in Waco tomorrow, Texas Sports Hall of Fame, where you were inducted back in 1998. Luncheon, your speaking engagement, the Astros' latest World Series championship. Your thoughts about coming back to a place that inducted you back 24 years ago?
Yeah, it's continued to grow. Great people. My foundation and my girls over there at the office stay in touch with them, and anytime we can send goodies or help them out, or in this case, I'm going to drive up from Houston and answer some questions from Bill Brown. Bill's seen a little bit of my career and covered it, and so looking forward to it. It's always a great place, and I'm going to see some familiar faces.
Roger, what are your thoughts on the new rules in baseball from a pitcher's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of put that in the same grouping that I would, with the analytics. I'm not on the high end of analytics or the low. I'm kind of floating in the middle part there a little bit on that. But, yeah, I mean, I've always teased people, while they're changing rules, they need to start they call it a foul pole. When the ball hits the pole, it's fair. So call it a fair pole, So I'm kind of glad the shift is gone. I think that some of the players, even on the infield, can wear the device where you can hear what pitches I'm going to throw. Doing my work with the Astros in spring training, I told some of the veteran guys, the minor league guys are used to it, but I thought it would take, and I still think it's taken a few of the guys who have had time in the majors a little bit time to get used to it. And I told them, just be aware, don't turn into, if you're a power pitcher, don't turn into a power thrower. You hear that signal off your ear, and you grab the ball and you just kind of heave it with no purpose. And that makes it real difficult to get through the lineup the third time. Now, I know a lot of them are only going 4 or 5 innings, whatever, but, it's so important. It's so important for them to pay attention to detail. And like I said, I was a power pitcher. I did a little thing with Greg Maddux about a month ago. And Greg and I were talking about, even though he threw, 88 to 90 maybe, and I pitched 95 to 97 miles an hour. We were both power pitchers. When Interleague came, he grabbed my video to watch how I was attacking some of those hitters. Now you go with the bigger bases, the challenge plays. I'm okay with that. The thing that I don't like probably is being able to throw over twice. Stuff like that. I mean, it's the games. I don't mind the times. The times going. The game times are a little bit faster. You still have to leave time for your walk-up songs and all your swag stuff that the guys are doing now. But yeah. So I enjoy the pace. I called 90 to 95% of my game from the mound with my looks. So my catchers had to pay attention to detail also. So, yeah, I mean, it's I think that, again, I go all the way back to what I started with. The guys have to pay attention what they're doing and where they're locating the pitch to continue to be a power pitcher and not a thrower.
Which catcher adjusted to you and that the fastest?
Man, I had some good ones. I mean, obviously the one that jumps off the page, and he wrote a book called Cy Young Catcher, was Charlie O'Brien. Charlie caught, I think, 10 Cy Young Award seasons. He caught Maddux and Glavine. He caught, one of mine. Osmus was great. Jorge Posada with the Yankees was probably the best two-way guy. Jorge could hit, switch hit, and call a beautiful game, and he trusted his hands. We would tease some guys, quit having windshield wipers back there, really trust your hands and things of that nature. So just, trust where, it's the same thing that I told the AAA, the guys that are on the major league roster in spring training. is that if your catcher's asking for you to get a ball to the right or left part of the plate, you should be able to get that baseball within 1 or 2 baseballs of where he's asking for it. I mean, that's how precise and good these guys. Now, you throw that out the window with your closers or your relievers. They're coming in with high octane. Everybody, most back end of the bullpen guys are all throwing 100 miles an hour. You do make mistakes throwing that hard. You can leave a ball in the middle of the plate, and if you do, guys in the big leagues can put wood on a bullet. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard you throw. You still got to locate. But, most of those relievers will come in, and their mechanics are such. I kind of relate it to maybe the listeners will understand to like a blender if you took the lid off of it. They're coming at you with elbows and knees and all kinds of violence coming at you. So you got to stretch those guys out a little bit. So it's just it's just cool stuff, part of the game if you're a student of the game, paying attention.
How much of what you mentioned the look, but how much of your on the mound did you try to intimidate people?
Well, intimidating is winning. I did a round table sit down deal, kind of like I'm doing tomorrow at the Hall of Fame. I did it with the great Jack Nicklaus, and we got 2 or 3 questions from the audience about being intimidated. Jack was intimidating. Jack told the story about when he went up against, came out and winning and doing very well against Arnie. Nobody really liked him too much because he was beating Arnie, but around the golf course. But Jack leaned over and said, "You know what makes you intimidating, right, Rocket?" I go, "No, sir." He goes, "It's because we win." And he's exactly right. You can throw 100 miles an hour and get knocked around and back up bases. So I was a power pitcher. So when I didn't have 95, 97, I was sitting at 91 with a good split. I was still trying to figure out, how to get to the 7th inning. That might sound crazy now because most of these guys are going 4 or 5 innings and then coming out of the game. But that's part of intimidating. I made when you pitch inside, I had to learn to pitch inside right out of the University of Texas when I got to Fenway against people like Greg Luzinski and Dave Kingman and Don Baylor and Carlton Fisk. I mean, if I left the ball over the middle of the plate there, it went a long way over that green monster. And those guys were, very, very intimidated. They stood on the plate, but you pitch inside to make a 17-inch plate a 24-inch plate to expand it and make guys feel uncomfortable. Again, there were times when, you're going to miss, you want to miss inside and you're going to hit guys. And then of course there's the crazy times when something's going on within the game on the professional level and you got to clean up a game, but that's a whole different subject.
Roger Clemens tomorrow, 11:30 at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, a luncheon, a Q&A, and then also, again, the Astros World Championship trophy from last year will also be on display.
Roger, the Yankees dynasty that you were a part of, that doesn't happen as much anymore. I mean, they've got good teams that hang around. The Astros, have been good and won a couple World Series now, but how special was that to be a part of, and do you look back and realize how hard it was to do, even with as good and stacked as that roster was?
Yeah, you hit it right on those. We had an all-star just about at every position. Our manager, Joe Torre, Joe just filled out the lineup. I mean, again, we policed ourselves, had all-stars at just about every position, and what Joe did famously, as far as I'm concerned, he handled our personalities great, and he handled the media in New York and the surrounding area. If somebody went below the belt or something like that, he'd address it. And, I mean, it's special when you're able to win and then you have high expectations. I felt that way again, coming out of the University of Texas, playing for Coach Gus. We rebuild, we didn't reload. I mean, we reloaded, we didn't rebuild. And, with the Yankees and really baseball in the East, the Red Sox, it was get to the playoffs and win 11 games, or it is a little bit of a huge disappointment actually. And so, I was fortunate. I got to play for some wonderful teams had some wonderful players. And even when I retired the second time or whatever, coming out of retirement, it was a joy for me to pitch those 3 years in Houston and play alongside, guys I was watching like Bagwell and Biggio, Lance Berkman, pitching alongside with Pettit and Oswalt was great. We flipped that town from a football town to a baseball city and got rolling again. The Astros right now, they're doing the same thing. They're plugging holes when guys go off to free agency and pitchers have to step up. And, but there's no days off when you're a team like the Yankees, like we were. You know, I can even jump back to in Boston, and really in Boston in the '80s, the Yankees weren't our big rival because, I mean, they had a few good players, Donnie Mattingly, of course, and a few others, but the team that we would bump heads with was the Blue Jays. They were really good late '80s, early '90s, won back-to-back championships. Then once I went over to the Yankees and Red Sox changed ownership and got really good, the rivalry came back. Now, it wasn't like the '70s, 75, because, you see guys, when you're talking about breaking up double plays and old school stuff, those are days gone by now with everything else going on. So, again, there's no days off. The Astros, when certain teams come in, they're playing their 3-game World Series against them. So you cannot take a day off.
Roger, of all the records that you hold or the numbers in your career, is there one that is the one that maybe is the most precious to you, or the one that is your favorite, or the hardest one that you earned?
Yeah, I tell people I won 200 games with really good stuff. I won another 160 or whatever it was with just, like I tell guys now with the analytics, I still believe you got to have an eye and a heart test. And when I was dragging out there in the 7th inning or two and trying to eat out to get the ball to the best closer in the history of the game, Mariano Rivera, I had a great, relationship with my pitching coach, Mel Stoudemire, all my pitching coaches really. And we would start to eat out. I'd say, all right, let me get back out there. Don't pull me just yet. But I know if the first guy gets on by a walk or base hit, whatever, I'm coming out. So it made my warm-up pitches even more intense. The game that there's a playoff game against Seattle that I almost threw a no-hitter. I think I punched out 15 or 17 guys. My boys always say, Dad, that was the most electric stuff you've ever had. Probably what changed my life as a professional player was my first 20 strikeout game in 1986 against the Mariners. I proved to my teammates that I was healthy. I think I started year 14-0. But I proved to my teammates and everybody that I was healthy, and it led to a wonderful 1986 championship season.
Roger Clemens, tomorrow, 11:30 at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Luncheon, Q&A, and also, as I mentioned, the Astros on display, the championship tickets, walk-up tickets. There are a handful available at $125 a piece. Paul?
Do you think the pitch clock is causing some guys to get hurt because they're not used to it yet?
No, I don't think that. I think it's crazy that I watch how many guys are tightening up their forearms and hands and everything else when they get the baseball from because I think some of these balls are, I don't even know if they put them like in a dry eraser like they do the NFL footballs and get the film off of them. But I see these kids just grinding their palms on their hands on the ball, trying to get that leather and get the shine off the ball. I don't think that the speed clock's doing anything. Again, I don't like the disengagement rule. Back in the day when they made us finally come to a complete stop, change of direction with your hands as a pitcher, it almost helped us because we were able to control the running game a little bit better. But yeah, I don't think it's causing anybody to get hurt. I think, again, you just have to really have to be a student of what you're doing, have a game plan going into the game, whether you're working off your fastball. As you can see on TV now, they kind of pinch you east and west, but north and south. They give you the top of the strike zone now, the high strike, which I'd have loved, featuring a four-seamer up and then a nasty split down, really to jog the eye level of the hitter. Same thing that my oldest son, Kobe, was minor league player of the year for the Astros. He's teaching now. And we've really stressed from 7-year-olds to minor league guys that come to the house to throw in our indoor cage, a great changeup or a split. That makes the world go around. If you have a changeup that you can throw at any time, it's a great weapon to have in your back pocket. But again, I can't stress it enough, guys. The minor league guys, we talked about it. The big league guys, we've talked about it. About you hear the signal in your ear or whatever, you see the sign, and you may feel like you're rushed a little bit, and you grab it and you just throw it with no purpose. And some of the guys can survive because they have electric stuff. I don't know if they'll survive the second time through the lineup, or for sure the third. because they haven't figured their way how to navigate their way through a 2.5 hour, 3 hour ball game.
Roger, we were talking with Tom Glavine the other day and brought up Shohei Otani and what he's doing as a dual threat in the game of baseball right now. And it was funny. He said, I love him. He's great to watch and all that, but I'm just curious of what he would be like if he just focused on one or the other. I was just curious from your standpoint, what you think of what he's doing, the history that he's making, and just in general as kind of a B-side of that question, who are some guys in today's game that you enjoy watching?
Well, let's go to the latter part. The guys I enjoy now, of watching. I keep an eye on all the teams that I played for, and now a little bit of the Phillies because my youngest is, Cody's second baseman, but he's like a hybrid for them. He's playing multiple positions, and that could lead into your first question about Shohei. Last year, before Cody got traded from the Tigers, the highlight for the Tigers year, they were getting blown. It's never good when my son's pitching because he's not a pitcher. And he got up on the mound and punched out Otani with about a 60-mile-an-hour backdoor cutter and got Otani to sign it. Otani signed it. What a nasty pitch. And sent him he called me and said, hey, Pops, you think if I send the ball over, the guy will sign it? And I go, I bet he will. Send it over there. That's pretty cool. I said, the other thing you forgot, you just put yourself and me in the lead category on father-son strikeouts all time.
There you go.
You got one. You got one, and I got a few more in that, and we passed the Stottlemyers. He's Otani. He's awesome. I mean, he's so much fun to watch. Must TV. That at bat in the World Games against Trout was awesome. It's very difficult to face your former teammates, let alone your current teammate at the time, and. I just think it's amazing what he's doing. You always wonder about his health with the pitching and the stress, if they ever get close to getting into the playoffs, and you have the playoffs are a whole different animal. I mean, they're very stressful innings when you get there. That's why I think later in my career, when I was 44, 45, they kept an eye on my pitch count, and they tried to not let me go past 105 because they wanted me ready for October baseball. So. But it's fun to watch him, man. He's got that swing where he can bail out a little bit and get that barrel of the ball, and then on the mound he's got 5 different pitches from 3 different angles. So he's fun to watch.
You mentioned your son. Is there anything more nerve-wracking than watching one of your sons compete in anything?
Yeah, no, they're hitters, so it's easier. I think if they were pitchers and they got on the mound, I'd be a little edgy, I think, because I know how difficult that is. But they always mess with Dad. They say, Dad, if I ever bring anything up about hitting, they said, hey, easy does it. The only thing you were good. They go, you are a good bunter. And then I have to remind them my average. I said I was out hitting 2 of the Astros at one point. I think I was hitting 228 when I was in Houston. 2 other guys were hitting below that. So I said, hey, I told Phil Garner, our manager, to bat me 8th one time, and our catcher heard that, and he ran out and said, if I'm batting 9th tomorrow, I'm retiring. I said, well, get your speech ready.
Right.
But, no, the boys, it's fun watching them. I tell this is for the moms and dads out there. We just did an event, a charitable event at the house the other night, and they were asking about pressure and, pitching in game 1 or game 7 of all the World Series and this and that. And I said, that's not pressure. I said, I'll give you what pressure was for me is I would come home on an off day and I'd have to go out to one of the boys' kids pitch game where they were 6 or 7 years old. And I'm doing the dart throwing, as I call it. I'm doing the dad's pitch. And, you get 6 pitches. You got to hit the guy's bat at some point. You don't want to punch out 14 6-year-olds. And you're throwing the ball in there, and you get to pitch 5, and you still haven't done it. Pitch 6 comes, but right before you're throwing it, one of the moms in the stands yelled, "Come on, you're a professional. Throw my kid a strike."
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And that's pressure. I keep telling people that's pressure.
Roger, you're about to be where you were inducted in 1998 into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame tomorrow for this luncheon, and the story is there about the Baseball Hall of Fame. How much does that register still with you that you're not in it?
Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, after year 1, when it seemed like it was more political than anything, and like I said, I was was fortunate. I don't think, like I said, at this point, we haven't really paid attention to it since year one. And you have zero control over it anyway. So all you can go out and have the career that I had. And it wasn't a factor when I was playing. It didn't change me one bit now. The people that are close to me and look at facts, like I tell people, you only have to be able to read past the third grade to understand. And but again, I played, I think I really, that year one or whenever it was, like I said, my first couple of years out of Texas, it was a generational change in our family's life. I was able to take care, my pops died when I was 9. I was able to take care of my mom and grandmother and help out family. And then once I got my feet established in Major League Baseball, it was about winning championships again and getting to the playoffs to win. So that was the most important thing.
Rocket, I can't let you go without telling the story. I grew up in Fort Myers, Florida, and it was 1992, I want to say, and the Red Sox were there at City of Palms Park. I went to school at St. Francis, right down the street. We had season tickets. It was a Friday. You and Nolan Ryan were making a spring training start against each other, which was. So it was very exhilarating for me to get to go, but it was Friday. It was a Friday afternoon, and I had school. My mom was a teacher in the school. My dad snuck me out. Like, he went to the office, took me out of school, and brought me over. She was so mad at him, but combined, you and Nolan probably only faced 8 hitters because spring training, it was towards the end. And so when she got done being mad at my dad for taking me out of school on a Friday, she asked me, she goes, well, how did they do? I said, well, Clemens struck out 1 and Nolan struck out nobody. And she goes, what? And I went, well, they only pitched like 2 innings. And then she was even madder.
Yeah.
But it was still an unbelievable thing for to just go and see that 1 inning was unreal.
Yeah, I was lucky. I got to, obviously, throughout my career, visit with Nolan during our careers when he was at the Rangers in Houston when I was in high school, actually. So that was fun. And then I got to play with the ultimate power pitcher. Tom Seaver came over to us in '86 late. And I got to watch him, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 starts. So that was a lot of fun watching him up close and personal.
Roger, we appreciate it. You gave us a lot of time. We appreciate it. Be safe on your drive up. Look forward to tomorrow. And thanks for your time.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You too. Roger Clemens, 7-time Cy Young Award winner, 300, I think it's 54 wins. He mentioned some of the accomplishments or moments that meant the most to him. And he will be, it's the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Garrett, would you put up the graphic if you still have it? 11:30, the luncheon begins. Now, the bottom part of it, 2 tickets are for $250. It's $1. It's $125 if it's just you. You can walk up. There are just enough, perhaps, for you to walk up tomorrow, have the lunch, listen to the Q&A, and also you can take pictures with the World Series trophy. And then later on,